Friends, you are 6 minutes late. Wabona 6:36, and Mervyn said this time I can't beg him for extra time. So let's jump straight into it. Hello, welcome to Conversations with Mohale. I am Mohale, as you all know. Tomorrow I leave for Japan, so everything is wonderful, everything is great. So Goretti is very worried because she said she's been put on a panel with troublemakers, and I said there's no bigger troublemaker than her. So I'm going to start with Goretti Kyomuhendo, novelist, activist, founding director of the African Writers Trust, and your works have been translated into several languages, and the book that we're going to be discussing, or her latest book, is called Promises. And next to her is Zulaikha Patel. I'm sure you all know her. We watched her grow up as a little troublemaker to become a big troublemaker. She's a human rights activist and advocate, and she was thrown into the space at a young age, threw herself into the space at a young age, and is still a shining light for people who are advocates. And at the end is my partner in crime, Pumla.
You see, they know them.
They know her. She's also a troublemaker every year. She's a scholar, a writer, activist, and a friend of mine. And I was asking her about this title, the NRF Chair in African Feminist Imaginations. Yeah, there was a long letters before that, and she said, don't do all that, just do the bare minimum, which is what I'm doing. But I'm here with amazing women, and we're going to talk about having a little bit of crisis fatigue and are we tired. So before I start, it's going to be baptism by fire here for Goretti. So yesterday at the opening of Open Book, I said it feels like the bad guys are winning. I won't lie, most mornings I wake up and I go, what kind of world is there for people like us, people who believe in, don't kill children? Just a basic thing that it shouldn't have to be said, but what happens to people like us? And so I want to know, before we get into it, how are you really? Goretti, how are you?
Good evening. How are you? I'm really pleased to be back in Cape Town. I was here probably more than 20 years back, and I stayed at a place called Monkey Valley. I don't know if it still exists. So I'm a bit worried being on this stage because I'm here with 3 very loud South African women. I'm completely outnumbered. I'm going to try my best, but thank you for asking. I'm well.
She's well.
Yes.
I just want to say, Goretti said so many times she's innocent, and then when we spoke about the book, she said there's so little sex in this book. So I don't know if she's as innocent as she's saying she is. Zulaikha, how are you?
I'm surviving under the circumstances, and I think, I actually think that this question, the title of our panel, is quite triggering, actually. Are we tired yet? How do we ask, are we tired yet, when we're stuck in a perpetual cycle of exhaustion? Because we're not just the ones that are exhausted. We're stuck in this cycle because we inherit the exhaustion from the generation of our parents, and then the generation of our grandparents, and then the generation of our great-grandparents, and we're stuck in this cycle. And we're consistently oscillating between we are exhausted but surviving, but a bit joyous in between, but constantly exhausted.
How are you?
I'm surviving. I am surviving.
You just came in strong.
I'm surviving.
And what does surviving look like for you?
Looks like this.
It's gorgeous. Pumla, how are you?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I am.
We love you, Pumla.
I'm not sure how I am.
And that's also okay. Critical but stable.
No, it's not okay, but it is.
No, I'm just saying that sometimes we don't know how we are. And the Khoshap will figure it out along the way. You don't know right now. If we must. Today we must. So, Pumla, you've done this a million times. We're going to do, and if you've been here for Conversations with Mohale, you know we do a 60, you are safe, a 60-second elevator pitch right, where you basically talk about what your work is about. And Pumla, I'm going to implore you also to talk about female. No, I don't care that you've done it before. What about people that haven't been here? So I just want to get my timer quickly. In the meantime, please think about your elevator pitch. If you got into a lift with somebody and somebody said, what is promises about? And you have 60 seconds to give an answer.
Can we take the stairs?
I'm putting a timer here, please.
Don't want to be in the lift.
I was going to say 60 minutes. Hold on. Didn't knock it wrong.
No, it's fine. Goretti, 60 minutes. Go.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm putting the stopwatch on.
Do you know how to work it?
No.
Is it like the paper,
You
iPad,
just
Kindle,
start,
computer
Pen.
thing?
Okay, so we're going to start with you, Goretti.
Why do you have to start with me all the time? Why don't you start with Pumla?
No, you're right. You're right. Pumla, you're up.
Start with her.
So we'll go this way.
This way. I started.
You have 60 seconds. Pumla. Can you pull yourself
Stop
together?
laughing.
This usually it starts like 30 minutes in. We started early today.
See, Goretti,
No.
for all of her claims to innocence.
What do you want me to do?
You don't listen. If you get into a lift with me and I know nothing about Female Fear Factory and you've got 60 seconds to tell me what it's about, what do you
Okay.
say? Go.
Female Fear Factory is about a patriarchal phenomenon that I call a factory, which is about the public production of fear in order to maintain patriarchy through violence. The factory produces a social category of the female, which is linked and mythologized in relation to the biological category of the female. And so it manufactures female, this category of the female, and then it creates fear in order to control those. So I think about fear as both an emotion, but also as a political technology to control and terrorize, to keep patriarchy alive. And it's how rape culture is created.
53 seconds. Go you.
I'm a winner.
I give her a round of applause. Okay, Zulaikha. 60 seconds, let's go.
Brave Like Me is a story that teaches children that people that change the world are not these people that are not real, they're completely out of your reach. People that change the world are ordinary people that just have audacity to be brave. And they get to learn the story through being introduced to an ordinary girl from Pretoria that had the audacity to believe she could be brave. And they get to know who was the girl that lived before the 13-year-old that everybody got to know.
Okay. 35 seconds. You're winning so far, Corey. There's pressure now.
What is the prize? It can't be for free.
You are the first
I
person
win.
who's ever asked what the prize is.
If I win,
Mervyn, where are you? Please
what
organize
do
the
I
prize. I don't know. Mervyn will tell
The
you. Maybe
prize
you'll
is you
the
get to
prize.
write a book that has more sex.
That's the prize. A book with more sex. Okay, you ready? What is Promises about? Let's go.
Promises is essentially a love story, although many of my readers tend to disagree. But it's about two young people based in Kampala, highly skilled, highly educated, highly experienced, but they are caught up in financial hardship because the man who is engaged to the woman is unable to find employment and decides to expatriate himself to the UK to find employment so he can come back and marry his woman.
Oh,
And there is very little sex in it.
there's very little sex in it. I don't know if you heard. That's 37 seconds. Pumla, I think you are the loser.
I think I am the winner.
You are the loser.
I did the most. That is the winner, not the loser.
No, it was. You don't know how this works. Mervyn, please organize a prize for Goretti, please. Okay, so now that we've gone past that, let's talk about this work, the work that you have here. And I like to think of my work as a meditation, if if I'm struggling with a problem, the first thing I do is I'll go and write a story about it. And sometimes I don't even get an answer. And so I want to know, Goretti, what were you working through when you wrote Promises? I promise I won't start with you again.
The inspiration behind Promises started around 2008, and this is when I moved to London. I was born, raised, bred in Uganda, and this was the first time I was living outside my country. So I moved to London, and I want to get to understand the many Africans that I'm encountering. And I start talking to them and asking them, so what made you leave your country? So why did you come here? How did you end up here? I used to visit detention centers and meet all these brilliant, young, skilled, wasting away their lives because they moved to the UK without the right papers to work, and they are stuck in this situation where they can't work, where they can't go back home. And at first, I got very angry. I got very angry at the situation, and I remember sitting on my bed and writing a letter to the Home Secretary, who is the equivalent of the Minister of Internal Affairs, I think, and composing a letter to her to say, can you give me money so I can go back to my country and run workshops and seminars, informative, and tell people not to come to your country. Because I don't want to see them wasting away their lives. All these small pamphlets that you are producing, they don't give the information. You know, they'll tell you if you come to the UK, you'll earn so many pounds an hour, but what does that translate into? Actually, what does it mean to live here? So I composed that letter, and then my anger waned a bit, and I said, I'm going to fictionalize this. I'm going to write a book about this. And it took me a long time, because along the way, I got completely heartbroken whenever I'd meet these people, and they tell me their stories, and they will ask me, so when is the book coming out? Are you writing our story? And it was difficult for me to do. It really was. It took me about 15 years to pull it off. Yeah.
And so in the writing, you know, I think, at least for me, I also come into the story with a lot of emotion. And then eventually, while I'm writing it, when now it's time for the craft, I have to distance myself. And so I want to know, how were you able to distance yourself eventually to be able to craft this work of fiction?
I think because I used to put it away a lot, and I was lucky to work with a good literary agent. I remember he had not been to Africa before. He's white British and was representing quite a number of successful African writers. And one time he told me, I want to come to Uganda. I want to see where this story is coming from. And he paid his way and came and spent about 2 weeks in Uganda. And he kept encouraging me, because I would put it away and say, I don't think I can do this anymore. So he kept encouraging me, and when he came to Uganda and asked me to take me to the places I was writing about, and kept saying, this is a very important story that we really need to get out there. So I think that helped a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Promises, ladies and gentlemen. That's Goretti's work, and it's very tender, but also very, very real. And I told her all the time, the male character, I wanted to throw the book against the wall, hoping it would hurt him as well. But after
it was very difficult to write that male character, by the way. It's the first time I was writing a male character as my protagonist. This is my 5th novel, and I had never done it. So it was a big challenge. And all the editors would come back and say, we don't see him, we don't feel him. We don't, he's not speaking to us. And when I was writing about, there is infidelity in the story, but still very little sex.
Very little sex.
So I remember struggling to portray how do men behave when they are cheated on? I really struggled with that, and I had to ask my husband. And
Hold on.
and he
Why
said,
would you ask your husband? I'm here to represent this husband. He did nothing wrong.
and he said, what? I said, no, this is just for the story. I struggled to create that. Because I know exactly what a woman would do. I've been a woman for 60 years. I know exactly how I would behave. But I struggled to portray how a man would behave if his woman cheated on him.
So, Goretti, you're saying this was inspired by people that you ran into, whereas for you, Zulaikha, Brave Like Me is you. And so how was that process? Because this is kind of like putting yourself out there. So what was the process in writing Brave Like Me?
The process of writing Brave Like Me, well, Brave Like Me was born shortly after my first book. It took some time to actually get around writing Brave Like Me because my first book came out in 2021, and a few months after that, then the idea of Brave Like Me was born. But Brave Like Me only came out in 2025. And the reason why it was difficult to get around it is because I've been overcome by grief from such a young age. And I just think grief is my lifelong companion now. And it's like that friend I have that's stuck with me, that follows me everywhere, and I just can't let go of them. And I was stuck in a place where I was fed up with parents actually teaching black children to be timid, because so many times we are taught by our grandparents and we're taught by the generation of parents that are baby boomers and Gen X that we should be timid and we need to be more grateful. We live better lives than them, which is questionable, it is questionable, because our generation can't afford buying houses, so it's kind of questionable. But we're taught to be timid, and I had to look at my own childhood where I was always stuck between a conflict of I had one parent that taught me to be timid, but then I had another parent that was the complete opposite. And I was going through grief as well that I had ignored for years, because growing up in the public eye came with the burden of, at a very young age, I had to learn how to mask emotion and not show emotion, because all my emotions were constantly used as weapons formed against me. I could so easily show the slightest emotion and it would be used against me that's exactly why she's a troublemaker. Something's not right there, you know? So I had to learn how to mask emotions. So when I was 16, I didn't deal with my dad's passing at all. I didn't process it at all. And because I'm Muslim, my dad was buried the exact same day he passed, so I never processed anything. And I only started to deal with it in my 20s when I actually tried dialing my dad's number, and I actually realized one day that, why am I dialing a dead person's number? And I knew that because I'm also stuck with parents teaching children to be timid, I knew I had to, write something that wasn't just only for the child, because my audience that reads my books most of the time can't actually read themselves, so they read with their parents, but I had to write something that would be a good balance between writing for the child to learn how to be brave and not be timid, but also heal the inner child of the parent that teaches them to be timid. Because the only reason why our parents teach us to be timid and teach us to mask emotion is because they have unhealed inner children. And I had to write something that would be for both. And I also at the same time wanted a living, tangible memory of my dad that I could always come back to, because when I actually came to terms with the fact that my dad is actually no more in the physical realm, it was really difficult for me to just accept that, because that's a life that I'm not used to at all. And I wanted something that was tangible and was alive, that always had him in it. And through that, I then discovered more layers as well to Brave Like Me, because I then realized actually what a radical idea it is to write a book that portrays a father of color that is present and that is loving. And so it also became about that.
Thank you. You want to clap, I can feel it. Why are you scared to clap now? You do this every year. So, Pumla, we've now spoken, to Goretti talking about having, met people and it inspiring the fiction in Zulaikha really working through grief. How did you come to Female Fear Factory? What were you meditating on? Or was it a meditation on something?
So I coined the concepts of Female Fear Factory in a previous book, Rape South African Nightmare. And I've said this story before, so apologies to people who hear me. I'm 52, so I repeat myself. Without apology. It's just when you are 52, you'll also repeat yourself. So it was a chapter in Rape South African Nightmare, and initially I thought about it as the least interesting chapter in Rape South African Nightmare, because I thought that the other least interesting as a writing. I didn't think. I thought as an idea, as a metaphor. I thought at the time, it was productive. It was useful. It explained what I wanted to explain. What I really wanted to explain was how you disrupt how. So Rape South African Nightmare is one kind of book, but it's that chapter was really about, and so much of my work on violence is not just about illustrating processes linked to violence and systems of violence, but it's also, I feel like I'm the kind of, as a feminist writer, and I'm the kind of feminist writer that I think that it's important to not just illustrate a phenomenon. I think it's absolutely important to diagnose a problem. But I'm not a doctor. I am, but I'm not like, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, that's what I mean. I don't heal people in a straightforward way. So it's not very satisfactory to me to say, to stop once you've diagnosed the problem. And because I'm a feminist in the world, I'm also interested, I wanted a sense, so as I was diagnosing the problem, I also wanted to think about and write into the thinking of the problem, ways of undoing the problem and unmaking the problem. So I thought it worked well. That chapter was about Lebupule interrupting a scene of the manufacture of fear. And so it was chapter 4 of Rape South African Nightmare, and I thought I was doing very nice, interesting things in the rest of the book, and this was just like a thing to explain a simple thing. But then a very strange thing happened in the aftermath of that book is that, Rape South African Nightmare itself became a phenomenon, and then everywhere I went, when I was invited to talk about the book specifically, people wanted to talk about the Female Fear Factory. And I had nothing else to say about the Female Fear Factory.
You started it, so you
because
must
I
finish
finished
it.
No, but my thing was I don't know what else to tell you. It's not even that interesting. It's an easy thing I explained. It's like a stencil. And people kept saying, no. Talk to us about it. And I had nothing. I was like, I can talk to you about other things. Like very interesting, really clever things I do in that book. But then eventually, after a while, I thought, okay, well, tell me why, And then I had these conversations with many readers and groups of activists and at various speaking things. And then eventually I had to keep returning to this idea of the Female Fear Factory. And then I realized that part of why I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't all I thought it was. And so that's where the book comes from. I'm in the middle of the lockdown, like many people, and I am thinking about lockdown, but I'm also thinking about violence. I'm thinking about the things that we think about all the time, and I'm realizing that it isn't the Female Fear Factory isn't just about rape and rape culture. It is bigger than that. And so I then try to think about, also because several people, but most consistently, a friend of mine who's sitting in the audience, who's also my publisher, wouldn't leave me alone with a certain line.
She's good at that.
And she kept saying, "You're so foolish. It's very foolish. I mean, it's a great book, but why did you call it a South African nightmare? Just do a thing and redo it and don't make it a South African nightmare. Like, how can you not?" I said, "I can see, Bibi, I can see, but like, if the book is finished, I don't know what else to say." And so the reason I write it in the way that I do is because I concede that Bibi might, as she often is, be right, and that perhaps there is something to thinking about the Female Fear Factory in terms of patriarchy's violence more broadly. And so it starts then in conversation and also in response to this kind of consistent invitation to think about and to sit with and to rethink. I start to think, well, maybe they're right, and of course, because of my training in one of the things in literary scholarship is that literary scholarship 101 is that we think that the writer is often the person that understands the writing the least, that the writing always exceeds the writer. So then I think, okay, fine, maybe there is something to this. Mm-hmm. Maybe what my readers are right, and I do know the least about. And so I write then the Female Fear Factory. Sorry, it's a very long answer. I write the Female Fear Factory. I'm tired of myself. And so I write about the Female Fear Factory in the world, and not in South Africa.
Well, I think, so the thing that, you all have in common, and myself
I don't even know
as
if that
well.
answers you, but sorry.
Yeah, you did, thank you. Otherwise, I would have said wrong answer. Penalty. I think we write about things that, maybe bother us, or we're working through things. And I mean, the question is, are we tired yet? And Zulaikha, you said we live in a state of perpetual exhaustion. But I wanted to know, Goretti, you were talking about dealing with people, meeting these amazing young Ugandans who are basically just, their lives are thrown away, and they're in a state, they're kind of devastated their lives. And I want to know, are we tired? Are we tired?
Yes.
Emma Bailey, we know when you say a state of exhaustion. This is why I said your name before. I know your answer. Goretti, are you tired?
Of what?
Of telling... of encountering the problems and trying to understand them and putting it in your work. Because I understand when you say it was heavy to constantly, come across these young people who want a story told.
No, I'm not tired. I'm not tired because what drives me to do this? I think that's where we should start from. For me, it's there's so many stories that I feel I need to tell. There are times when I wish I could grow a third hand so I could write them faster. I'm not tired. There's always a story in the pipeline. There is always something that keeps drawing me back, especially to fiction. Because for me, fiction is where the truth lies. At least that's how I understand it. It's what allows me to record, to tell, to reimagine, to refunction, all the stories that I wish to tell. It's what, because I'm not a historian, so I don't have that pressure. I'm not a politician. I'm not this. I'm just a storyteller. And for me, if I can bring these stories to life, if I can record the small triumphs of the everyday person, Promises is not as heartbreaking as I thought it would be, Because amidst all this, I was trying to see how have these people made a life for themselves? How have they survived this? How have they lived here for more than 20 years? And there is more. Even when I wrote Promises, I didn't think that the story itself had ended.
Because I want to know what happened. Oh, I was just about to spoil.
About what happens, yeah.
No, what happens at the end? Because I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this has happened, but
Yeah,
now...
but now what?
Yeah.
Because I keep imagining there must be other things. I left that for the reader. Let the reader design their own ending.
Oh,
so
we
I
get
left,
a sequel.
Yeah, there's no sequel. But for me, it's because there are so many other stories that are in the pipeline. They may not be exactly in this line, but I don't think I can even afford to feel tired.
Because the stories must be told, the work
They must be
done.
told. A friend of mine says a story that must be told never forgives silence. And
Who is
I
this
believe
friend
that.
so we can quote them nicely?
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting thing because, like you said, right, we're not politicians. We're
not historians.
Yeah, and so we're telling these stories, even though
We need to tell the truth, and truth lies in fiction.
Yeah.
For me, yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
Zulaikha, now let's talk about your exhaustion. You see, I came back to you. Are you tired?
Yes, I am. But I am tired. But really, if I completely stopped everything because I was tired, then, like you said, the world is going to completely feel like the bad guys are winning. The only reason why the world doesn't feel like that is because amidst all of that, there's pockets of hope, and we can't let that go. There's really a lot of power in remaining, in trying to continue to imagine a better world and holding on to the dream for a better world. And so much power lies in just carrying that delusional thought, you know?
Delusional.
Because it is delusional to think you can change the world. We're all delusional here. We are.
So you're saying there's power in delusion?
Yes. We're like a good delusional, though.
Not a sick delusional.
A good delusional, like a good crazy. The crazy the world needs. Because if this all disappears, then what becomes of the world? And there's never enough that a black woman can write. You just need to continue writing because, I mean, we're not just only writing for ourselves, we're writing for the generations of women that we come from that couldn't write for themselves or couldn't speak for themselves. So there's never enough that we can write. That's why we just have to continue writing because
show
there'll
must
never
go
be
on.
enough.
Pumla, are you tired?
Nope.
Baba, we don't tire
am
here on this
definitely
stage.
not tired. I'm definitely not tired. I am often heartbroken. I live with a simmering rage. But I am determined. And I am always hopeful. So no, I'm not tired. But also precisely because I am a student of history. And I am someone who is a scholar of slavery, and I'm someone who's lived the life I've lived and born under apartheid, living now, and so on. I know that the world does change. I know that people make the world change.
Yeah.
And so it's a certainty. And sometimes it doesn't change enough, but I know that I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, live the life I would have lived if I'd been born in exactly the same place 100 years ago or 200 years ago. I know that as someone who was born in 1972, as flawed and as infuriating and as devastating as my country is, it is not the country that I lived in for the first 21 years of my life. And so precisely because I am a committed student of history, and precisely because I've lived for 5 decades and I've seen enough change, and even sometimes not even things that are kind of a political change. I mean, I tell my students, when they can't find a source and they're having a nervous breakdown because they can't find a source, even though there's Google Scholar, I say, some of us wrote our first theses before there was Google, before there was the internet. And we had to find the thing, and someone had to find the thing, and you had to find the thing, and you find the thing. And I'm not saying that, and when I'm saying that, I'm not saying, oh, you're complaining about an easy thing. What I'm saying is, I know it's unthinkable if you were born in the last 20 years. Like to think about a world where there was no Google and no internet, right? So I'm speaking at that level. I'm not talking about as a value judgment. I'm just saying, even, often the younger people in my life are like, when I'm talking about how we would arrange things in the 80s, like fun things, right? You're going to meet at the place to go watch a movie. And they're like, you just made an appointment.
And you just assumed everybody would get there.
Yeah.
And what if something happened to you on the way? How would you tell your friend? I'm like, you would just get there and you would wait. And you would wait, and you would wait, and your friend would come or not come. And then you wouldn't know. And then eventually you would know because you could only call their parents' landline when they were there. But on the way, if they, the car broke or, I have a... My cousin's going to kill me for telling you the story, but I'm going to tell you.
This is going to be a good one.
So my cousin, it's a terrible story, but it's funny. It was terrible at the time. It's funny now. Everybody thinks it's funny now, all the people involved. So my cousin, we were in high school, so, holidays, and she's madly in love with this boy, and the boy is madly in love with a girl, and it's holidays, and we live in different parts of the country. We're all in boarding school. People go to the different parts. And the boy doesn't phone, doesn't write letters. My cousin is sitting there, and he's like, I thought we were close. I thought we got along. What's going on? I'm cross, gets heartbroken, whatever. Now sends a letter saying, I'm breaking up with you because clearly you're a scoundrel. Turns out boy was in a terrible accident and has been in the hospital. Right?
Yeah, but it's not funny. Pumla, I'm going to stop this story.
But the point that I'm making...
It better get good.
The point that I'm making is that you just didn't know, you just waited, and then you were devastated and you broke up with it, but your person was in the hospital. Now, of course, if we were living in 2020, 2025, someone would text somebody. Somebody would Instagram it, or tweet it, or inbox somebody, you know what I mean? And so all I'm saying is that I know the world changes in small, insignificant, silly social ways, but in also big ways. The world that we live in with technology that allows us to do these silly things, right, is a world that was unthinkable 30 years ago. Right? So I believe in the capacity of human beings to change the world.
You have
in small ways and in big ways. And I see, studying the last 500 years in human history, it happened over and over and over again. So no, I'm not tired because I know that it will change.
Yeah.
Sure.
Please, Shayani Zandla, clap your hands. Okay, so we talk a lot about having this hope and knowing that it's going to be okay. Can't afford to tire because the bad guys, it looks like they don't even sleep or they get Red Bull straight into the veins. We don't know what they're on. They are powered by evil. And so I want to know also, what are the things that bring you joy? Because as you all know, you've been coming here, you know that your girl is depressed. She's on medication. She's a little anxious, a little... And so the big problems of the world are huge, and the small problems of the world are big. And so for me, when I wake up in the morning, I'm up here, and by lunchtime, I'm at least here at a very nice panic, right? And the things that bring me joy is I've got a stupid dog who doesn't listen, but I have to take her for a walk, so I'm out in nature the whole time, right? And I have friends who are ungovernable, and we check in on each other on a Tuesday. We sit at a very dodgy wine bar, and we just complain and we laugh and whatever. Those are my small pockets of joy, right? So I want to know, what are the things that are keeping you together? Because for me, it's my badly behaved dog and my ungovernable friends. What's keeping you together, Goretti?
Me again? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You promised you wouldn't keep starting with that. I told you, don't trust him.
Two things. I was raised by my grandmother in a small town in western Uganda, dusty, small, insignificant. And my world started and ended in her homestead. And my grandmother was not permitted to eat certain foods because she was a woman.
Like what?
Like fish, like pork, like eggs,
Okay.
like rabbit meat, like chicken. And
This sounds like she was able to eat very little.
yes, and that's how she raised me. And the storyteller in me, I always pestered her for stories. So I remember asking her, so what will happen if I eat rabbit meat? I said, now you walk kaguzo bingi bojo. That's my language, saying, you are so inquisitive, you child. And I said, but tell me what will actually happen. So when you get your babies, they will all die. Really? How? Because you won't have breast milk. And I believed it. At that age, I was about 8 or so. So for me, one of the joys is that I put that in my stories. I write about that. And I keep saying, I want to quote Pumla, that really the world changes in small ways.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was not permitted to eat those foods. She was not permitted to choose her husband. And my mother was allowed to eat that food and choose her husband, and now I'm in a better place. So I look back at all that and say, this should sustain me, that things are changing. So that's one. Then the second one is, I really love what I do. That, every... Thank you.
And you're very good at it.
I don't know, but
I'm telling you.
I have never been employed. I'm 60 years. I turned 60 years.
This is a good 60.
Last month. Yeah. And I have never been employed. I have created my own work. I love working with young people. I love mentoring people. I run writing workshops. So there are difficulties, but every morning I have something that gets me out of bed. And before I came here, I ran a writing workshop for 10 young writers who came from the region, who would never have benefited from that. So they came from DRC Congo, from Burundi, from South Sudan, countries and literature that is seldom talked about in African literature. So that gives me a lot of joy. I just created the literature festival, all this, back to back. So I don't have that time to sit back and lament. I just love what I do, and I do it with a lot of passion.
And that's what sustains you.
That's what sustains me.
Now my dog and drunkard friends seems very bad. I'll think of something else. Forget the dog and the drunkard friends. Zulaikha, what keeps you together? What is the thing who are the people, or what are the things that sustain you when it feels like it's all falling apart?
I think what keeps me going is that regardless of how terrible the world may be, unconditional love still exists, and it will always exist. And we're able to love people unconditionally. People are able to love us unconditionally. The fact that unconditional love can still exist in a world that has so many injustices is something that keeps me going, because if, as human beings, we're still able to create that feeling and feel that feeling of unconditional love, then that means we can still also love the world enough to want to change it. And Goretti loves what she does, and that changes lives. We're still able to love. Unconditional love still exists, whether it's between people or whether it's between our relationship with our passion, our purposes. It's the core of everything, and the fact that it still exists keeps me going.
I like that. Forget the dog for real now. Pumla?
I have a lot of joy in my life. I
I've created a life worth saving.
I like that.
And I don't feel boastful about that. I feel grateful for that. I have two of the most frustrating dogs.
The dog is back on.
I absolutely want to kill them every day, but I can't live without them. They drive me insane because they're wonderful, but they bicker. And they, for no reason, like, as soon as I'm like, oh, look, everything is so nice, they start, then they stop, then they start, then they drive me crazy. But, you know.
But that gives you joy.
It gives me joy. My son likes to send me, every day, memes that make fun of me. All the time. All the time, every day. This is his love language. He's like, he sends me, best mom in the world. Then he's like, oh, moms, and they do them. I don't know why there's so many memes making fun of moms on the internet, but he just seems to have a library, so he sends me those, so I laugh the whole day. I have figured out how to make my day job the thing that I came to do on this planet.
And you do
I
it so well.
teach and write for a living, and that's what I came here to do. I came here to teach and to write and to be my son's mom. So I feel like I live completely my purpose. I have the most, and I'm very boastful about, by far, the most phenomenal human beings as friends. They are unhinged and brilliant and generous, and they do impossible things.
Drunken friends are back. Back on the table.
I have a friend, for example, she said, this is what, I was going to tell you what she does for a living, but this is what she said about herself recently. She said, I solve problems for a living. And I love that. But actually, when I think about her, she just does crazy, impossible things. I mean, we're all middle-aged. She's just like, a few years ago, she became completely obsessed with going up the mountain, and I'd come to Cape Town, she'd say, right, I'm fetching you from the hotel at 5 a.m., we're gonna go up Newlands, and then we were like, not sure why, but like, it was joyful. And then she decides she's gonna swim all the time. And she wants to talk about swimming, and she's swimming, and now it's swimming. And now I was teasing her that she's gonna run, she's gonna do Ironman, because now she's biking everywhere. Now she's a biker, and she makes kombucha, and I don't know what the hell, and these are about, I'm just saying, I'm using her as an example. I'm kind of picking on her also because she's in the audience. But I was also gossiping about her. But what am I saying? I'm saying it's just like I'm surrounded by these people who do things that are fascinating, right? They're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human beings. But they're also like the perfect friends for a nerd because they write comics and they like one of 3 game whatever complicated thing. You know what I mean? It's like they do the impossible. I'm surrounded by people who do the impossible and who make me feel like I can do the impossible and who have such generosity of spirit and who teach me and energize me and fascinate me. And so I live a life of absolute wonder. And I have long friendships, right? So some of these people I was in high school with, right? So I have long friendships. Like this person who's going to run Ironman, I was in high school with. She was much younger in high school. She's older
we need
now.
to give the people a chance to talk
I'm
to
just
us.
saying.
6
so
minutes.
I have a wonderful life. I have a lot of joy.
And isn't that such a wonderful thing to be able to say, I have a wonderful
I
life, do the job that I love, and there is love in the world, and that's what inspires me.
Yes.
Because we may get tired from time to time, but we can't afford to be so tired that we don't fulfill.
But our purposes also fulfill us.
Yes.
I mean, it's so fulfilling to write children's books. Just
Yeah.
the interactions with the children. It definitely reminds me that, well, I think I'm definitely doing the right thing.
You are.
Deciding to start off by writing children's books. Well, some people weren't happy. They were like, well, you could have done maybe something better with your activism. And I was like, well,
They
what do
must
you
do
mean?
something better with
what do you
their
mean?
activism.
They must do it.
Because children are the light of the world. And you know, some of the things they say to you, sometimes you get a backhanded compliment, but it's still a compliment. I mean, today, at one of my school readings, a little girl said to me, well, Zulaikha, I actually don't know why they bullied you, because you're actually not that bad. So I'm not that bad.
Yeah. So I was actually going to let you guys ask questions, but because you don't know how to do a question and you want to do 13 comments, and Mervyn said I must get out of here at 7:30 and it's 7:26.
Oh, we started late.
You must meet our good people and me there outside. Let's talk. But I just want to continue. I'm getting my 4 minutes, Mervyn. I don't know where you are, but I'm getting my 4 minutes. So I think what's really, really joyful about being here every year is that this has also become this kind of space where I'm able to talk to like-minded people. And I think the one thing I was going to ask you all to do is to read from the books, but then we ran out of time. And so you can ask them to read outside. It's conversations with Mohale, not Mohale and you. So I think I just want to know something, because we are talking about your work. What was the best thing about creating this work for you? Goretti, yes, wait, Pumla.
This particular work?
What was the best thing about creating this work?
Liking what I'd written.
Being proud of it.
Liking it. Yes, I'm always proud of my work. I mean, if I make it public, I'm proud of it. Liking what I mean, it drove me crazy, but I like it. I like the prose, I still like it. That's the best thing.
Zulaikha?
What was the best thing? Representation is always the best thing. When children get to see themselves in books, it's the best thing. And in a country like South Africa, children getting to see an interracial family represented in a children's book, that was the best thing ever, because they so rarely see that. And so many times those children think their families are odd, actually, because nobody looks alike. And coming from blended, in inverted commas, but a blended interracial family, and getting to represent that for me was the best thing. And my dad is in it. So it's the best thing ever, because you know, we're African as well, so we do understand that people live beyond the spiritual realm. So just also realizing that how honored I must have been to be given a dad by God that loved me beyond just the physical realm and loved me in every lifetime. And seeing that through, I really believe writing this book, God has also sent the children that I get to read to heal the wound that will never heal, because every time children actually hear the story, they actually ask me, well, where is my dad? And then we have to have the conversation about my dad passing, and they end up giving me hugs. And that actually, it heals a wound that never is going to heal. And I think that's the best thing ever.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Goretti, I know there's very little sex, but what was the best thing about writing this book? I know you are very disappointed that you didn't put enough sex in the book. What was the best part about creating this book? I'm sorry, because they're never going to invite me back.
I think for me, because when I started doing research for this book, as I've explained, I really worried that I wasn't going to do it justice. And every time I would meet the people I was interviewing, the detention centers I was visiting, they kept asking me, when is the book coming out? Have you put my story in there? Because I really want these people in the UK to read my story. I want them to know what we are going through. And then the many times I put it away, as I said, it took about 15 years to write and finish and get a publisher. So the many times I put it away and then came back to it. So I thought that was, for me, that it's out here. You know, the fact that I finished it, because there was a sense of responsibility attached to it. So the fact that it's here it gives me a lot of pleasure to have done that.
And it gave us a lot of pleasure to read it. Thank you for doing it. Yep. 7:31. Mervyn, I said I'm going to get my 4 minutes. So I just want to say thank you all for coming here every year and listening to me being an absolute mess with wonderful people on the stage. Thank you so much, Pumla. Let's do it again next year. Zulaikha, you are a light. Goretti, you are perhaps the wildest of us all.
Yes.
The next book, we want all sex.
All
It
sex.
must be a sex book. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.